Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Two Psychics. This is Michael Edley, Evidential Medium and Mystic, discussing all things spiritual.
Hello, I'm Mary Amy of Two Psychics, an intuitive wisdom coach, tapping into your mystical life and sharing messages I receive about you.
Good evening, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here tonight with all of you. This is Michael Edley, Psychic Medium, coming to you live from the Jersey Shore. Love this time of year. I have to say it's probably my favorite season. You know, the cooler mornings, it warms up a little bit later in the day, and preparing for the Halloween and the Christmas season. It's just, I like it. I love the changing of the leaves and everything that we can look forward to moving forward into this new cycle we're entering into. And I have my lovely, fantastic co-host here with me tonight, Mary Amy. What is going on, Mary Amy? How are you?
Hello. How is everyone? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Here we are, Two Psychics, episode 30. It's all about Collective Ascension. And we have tonight guest Peter Hansen, an angelic channeler and mentor. Very exciting, September 12th. I right now am trying to find him because he says he's in here, but I don't see him in the studio. So it's going to be an interesting night already.
The mysteries of electrical interference and psychic energy. It's all good. Hey, so Peter, if you're out there, we are not seeing you. You're mysteriously navigating through the matrix around us.
Yes, exactly. And you know what happens? Technology.
Interesting things happen. And yeah, well, hey, it's episode what? Episode 30, isn't it? That is amazing. Episode 30. Woo. The big 30.
That means that we're at how long have we been doing it? We've been doing it since January 24th, I think. So here we are in September.
Yeah,
and I'm really proud
awesome
of us because we have been opening people's mind, opening their hearts, at least I'm hoping, and, embracing awareness and having these fabulous guests that come on, like Peter Hansen tonight. And by the way, we have a couple of other guests coming up in a few weeks. September 19th, which is next Thursday, everyone listening out there, we have for her second time on Two Psychics, we have Shayna Blackmore, who is a sound healer, a Reiki master, and she's fabulous. And we have Estrella Feminine Priestess, October 3rd. September 26th, I won't be able to do a show because I have some kind of event I'm doing. I apologize. I'm just letting you know that right now, Michael.
That's all good. We can all use a day off here and there, right? It's all right. We work pretty hard doing this, so a day off here and there is okay with me. No, it's cool. So what I was going to say is, are we going to get a little bit of a sound meditation from Shayna Blackmore, or what? What do you think? She's going to bust out the crystal bowls and the chimes, and man, that was some good stuff last time she was on. It was very interesting hearing all the non-traditional instruments that she uses and how she collectively combines all those sounds and tones and creates this really, it's a pretty amazing healing atmosphere that you get through the frequencies and through the sound and through the vibrations. And I mean, you know me, being a musician, and I'm very big on, sound healing and frequencies and utilizing, all that energy that ancient civilizations had used that we kind of got away from. And it's interesting because tonight we talk about collective ascension, one of our topics that we're going to be touching base on. And I do believe part of ascension, I think part of raising that vibration and part of elevating our consciousness and our awareness, a lot of that can happen and doorways can be opened through music. So I'm very excited. So I'm kind of segueing into some other stuff here, but very much looking forward to hearing some type of sound meditation next week. That would be awesome.
The answer to your question is absolutely yes, yes, yes.
All
she
right.
loves to give us some kind of sound healing. And it's interesting that you mentioned, did you say bells? Because I uncovered a fact that demonic entities and negative things, energies, toxic stuff does not like the sound of bells. And so everyone out there, I always say, get a picture of a wolf and put it in your house. Like I have a painting of a wolf right in my center of my home. And that's one way to keep away anything negative, and also bells. Maybe that's why people had chimes for a long time, because it got rid of negative energies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at historically, church bells, when you looked at all these different places in olden times that they had the church bells or a center square in a town, and they would ring the bell, at different intervals of the day. So there was definitely something to that. And the interesting thing, I actually just saw a little snippet talking about sound and the church, the reasoning behind church bells and why they would utilize that, not just to bring people together in the town and, to say, hey, our church congregation is going to start up, in a half hour from now, and people could hear the bell, and a lot of people in the ancient times, were walking or horse and buggy, and it's something they could hear, and they would periodically, ring the bell so people could utilize what point of day it was, what they were doing, what they could shift in what they were doing to make sure they made it to church. And in addition to that, like what you're talking about, eliminating negative spirits, evil, demonic energy, the bells and the frequencies, pushing them away. And they would say the bell would actually cleanse. It would sonically cleanse, that perimeter around the church and around the town that church resided in. So all these ancient, throughout classic history, the big thing was a church in every town, multiple churches, multiple bells, a bell in the town square, and they would all be rung periodically. And then there was a period of time, I forget when exactly, throughout the 1800s, where a lot of these bells were destroyed. And the interesting thing is, not to go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole or anything, but there was a point in time when you started seeing, modern day production and modern day big business starting to form, and you started seeing the foundation and the fundamentals of, I guess what would be the start of these power families and these power groupings in society that would really change everything. But that's a whole different episode. But yeah, and to get back to bells, yes, bells were very good and they were everywhere. So there had to be a reason. And why did they destroy them? Was it because they were at like 400, you hear 432 hertz, and it would balance people, and mentally people didn't have like all this anxiety. Obviously society was much different then, but there was a lot of natural healing modalities that were very present in society that were regularly used, and sound healing was absolutely one of them. So I think on a large societal scale, they knew, people knew, and this is information that was, pulled away, taken away, destroyed, hidden, whatever you want to say about it. There was definitely information, and societies of days past were much different than today's society, and absolutely utilized sound healing as part of it.
And now we are entering this new phase in the world. I don't know how you've been feeling lately. I have been having the most unbelievable dreams. And I have to tell you, it all began after we had our friend Daniel Scrotton. And I don't know what happened. I started hearing that song go off, and then I started putting together this proposal, and I spoke to you before we came on tonight, and it involves you. And I put it together, and then I'm trying to pursue that. But some other things happened to me. I just want to share, because here we are, and why not? I'm on two psychics. So I don't know if everyone out there recalls that I mentioned in the past that I put together a dream journal, which you can find on Amazon. And it's really a source of information for you. There's a little introductory passage about what the significance of dreams and our sleeping dreams I'm referring to. Yes, we have those waking dreams, but I'm referring to your sleeping dreams. Because when you pay attention to your sleeping dreams, it's really your unconscious guiding you, your spirit guiding you. And you can solve problems that you can't while you're awake, and you can overcome fears. And I really suggest writing them down the minute you wake up, because otherwise you'll forget. Well, some strange things happened. Let's see. The end of last week, I started having these dreams. That one dream I woke up and I had all of these, seemed like some kind of hot, heavy hives, rash around my neck area. It was some kind of other skin. Then the next night I had a dream that I was covered, my face and my chest again, or neck was covered in fur, red fur. Okay, then I had something hit my head, like my brain, that hurt, gave me pain. So I don't know what that was. And now it seems like my dreams this week are actually premonition dreams. Like there's this gal that I work with in the Matrix. Everyone knows what the Matrix is, right? It's the linear world. It's the physical reality that we're living in, that we're enslaved in. And I had this dream about ants. And then I had this dream about little mouse poops. It was a whole cluster of mouse poops. And I get to work and I say, where is she? Where is she? She's supposed to work this shift. And they're like, oh, no, she's not coming in. I said, no, she is. And I just knew it. It was so weird. Sure enough, like a minute later, she walks in, and now there's too many of us. And we get talking later on. She stays, and she starts telling me about these mouse poops. I'm like, what? Are you kidding right now? It was just so strange. So my point is that I think things are changing. More of the underlying parts of us are coming to the surface, and maybe in a pre-existing dimension, I have red fur on my body. I don't know. Do you have any input on this, Michael?
That is very interesting. The red fur. That is really, I'm just trying to visualize.
It's
the weirdest
thing.
I'm trying to visualize that, and that's kind of the freaky thing. You would be like this kind of like wolf fox hybrid human fur. I mean, it might work. It might be a cool, interesting character for like a sci-fi movie or something. But
it's so strange. It's so strange. I did cut off 7-8 inches of my hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting the new look.
I got a totally new look.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on. So what I'm saying to everyone out there is pay attention to your dreams, and what we see out here in the physical reality is only a small percentage of what's actually existing, because our eyes cannot see all the different dimensions and frequencies and vibrations. And it's pretty interesting what's out there.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me as far as dreams go, for whatever reason over this past week, I know I've had really in-depth, deep, intricate dreams that have been very visual, but when I wake up, I can't remember any of it. It's the most amazing. And usually I can wake up and remember a good portion of my dreams. For whatever reason this week, I don't recall anything that I'm dreaming about, but I do know that I'm having some very intense visual dreams occurring, but I just can't recall, like when I wake up. But the interesting thing, when you talk about this red fur, several months ago, I had a really bizarre dream where it was like I woke up from a dream in a dream. So if that makes sense, I was actually like in my dream, I was kind of in bed and I woke up and I look in the mirror and I'm in a different body. I'm actually in a body of like a heavier set guy with red hair and just a completely different complexion and build. And it was the weirdest thing because it was almost like I jumped timelines and I was in somebody else's body. And it was such a realistic dream that I felt like I was literally having a different existence in a waking state. It felt that real. So it was very, very bizarre. So much so that when I woke from that dream, I literally had to sit up and like catch my breath and was like, oh, I'm so thankful I'm back in my body now. I'm so thankful I'm back in this body. I like this body. I want to be back in this body. And it was weird. It was really bizarre, almost like an outer body experience in a dream that was so realistic. I woke up and had to pinch myself and be like, okay, I'm back in this body. Okay, excellent. So, yeah, absolutely.
That's funny that you're saying that, because last week, I was the dreams that I was having, like one dream in particular, it was so vivid that I thought that it happened, and I was calling someone over and over, and then I thought they were there, and then they weren't, and I woke up thinking it was true. It was really strange. Like, I didn't have any doubt that it had happened. I said, "Oh, well, that happened," but it was the dream. It was a dream. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, there's some interesting shifting timelines possibly happening on some, deep underlying energetic level. I don't know. It was, for me, that was one of the most vivid, realistic dreams that I had in probably the last, probably the last at least decade of my life. It was that realistic, and I've had some very vivid, realistic dreams, and then I have dreams where I know I'm connecting on a level to, one of my guides or a loved one in spirit, and they'll come through, and literally, I'll have moments where maybe I don't feel like I'm connecting to them, or I'm separated from, a certain piece of my collective on an energetic level, and it always comes back to me in a dream, and that's what I tell everyone. And we talk about this a lot: is don't discredit anything that comes to you in a dream. And a lot of times, if you lose a loved one and you're dealing with that heavy grief, sometimes that's the way they can penetrate that grief, and they can come to you and make you aware that they're with you, they're around you. So yeah, absolutely. Like Mary Amy says, pay attention to all aspects of what comes to you in this dreamlike state, and jot it down, note it down, pick up one of her dream journals and track it, and see if there's like reoccurring themes or a reoccurring piece of information that keeps coming through.
Yes, and by the way, it's called My Dream Journal, a personal diary of messages, signs, and symbols to guide you by Mary Amy. You can find it on Amazon. All right, so I am going to let you know that he cannot get on through the link that was sent. So we are going to call him. But before we call Peter Hansen, let us get on to our topic tonight. We are going to bring on Peter Hansen in a little while. Peter Hansen is a channeler, an angelic channeler, and mentor. Okay, so tonight we're going to cover the topic before we bring Peter on. For everyone out there, we always have a topic, and if we have time, we do a visualization or a meditation, and we have callers, of course. And there's many people holding right now, and I know there's a few from last week that we didn't get to, and they're back on again today. So I'm going to bring up our topic, which is collective consciousness. Now, collective consciousness, we know collective means more than one, a group, right? It's a concept that refers to shared beliefs, interests, ideas, and attitudes of multiple individuals. Consciousness is the awareness of an experience, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual existence. It's basically the coming together of individual consciousness. So what is individual consciousness? Well, each of us has a certain consciousness. We look, and we can basically tap into all the different levels that exist through individual consciousness. Each of us can look outside of ourselves internally, and externally. In other words, you have self-actualization, a realization that it's not just you. And then from there, we have collective consciousness, which is shared with humanity. And then beyond that, there's something called universal consciousness, which is infinite intelligence, all of creation. I'd like to give you another term that I uncovered, collective minds, which is a shared mental perspective, and society converges rather than divides. And I'll remind you, we are all connected. We are all one, unity. So it's basically, these topics are related to the cooperation of individuals' beliefs that flow to collective consciousness. Now, we can sense right now that those that are awakening are beginning to have some kind of collective consciousness. And it's taking on some kind of domino effect, and people are having some kind of awakening, and maybe it's a spiritual or a mystical, or they just are tired of the way things are. They wake up one day and everything seems different. Maybe they go under some kind of loss, or they crave something deeper than a surface reality. What are you thinking about this, Michael?
Yeah, the collective consciousness and everything behind it, this is something, I mean, it goes back pretty far, and this is something I believe ancient civilizations had tapped into, you know, whether we're looking at like a Tartaria or an Atlantis, but I do believe there was a point in time, even beyond that, you know, I do believe I believe we're either in the fourth or fifth level of an advanced human race that's lived on this planet. And I do believe there were more advanced, and there were some that were slightly less advanced. But I do believe there were two huge cycles where there was an elevated collective consciousness. And we hear a lot, too, like that collective ascension. And we're trying to, you know, go into that 5D ascension, to that 8D, that 12D ascension. But what I think the basis of that is unifying our collective consciousness in a positive way where people are, you know, just living a different type of existence in society. So there's a lot that's got to be broken down, a lot that would have to be rebuilt. And I think today, more people are awakening. We are definitely in a cycle and a period of human history where there's an awakening happening. But I do believe when we talk about collective consciousness, it's almost like this is something we're trying to uniformly get back to something that was in an ancient past culture. And I think on a deep soul level, we know and we feel that we can unify and come together as a human race and work with, you know, without this prejudice and without the fear and without the, you know, just the pain of war and crime and, you know, all these different things that happen, these low vibrating energies that have infiltrated and basically corrupted major segments of our society. I think when the collective consciousness can elevate and unify, well, first off, on an individual, if we look at this really on an individual basis, that's where it starts. We all try to raise our vibration. We try to be a better person. We try to do things, you know, from a place of love, from a place of that positive heart energy. And we want to allow that to act us and unify, you know, our emotional state, mental state. And I think what had happened in some of these ancient civilizations that really had a very elevated collective consciousness, they worked together to uniformly benefit the society and everyone in it. No one was left behind. You didn't believe you had homeless. I don't believe you had sickness and illness like you have today. I do believe there were very high natural healing modalities that include sound, you know, herbs, different. I absolutely know vibrational healing was a part. You look at some of the chambers and you look at, you know, some of these granite tombs and you look at the design, and from a physics aspect, from sound physics, from me being a sound engineer and understanding and utilizing sound physics, you can see how certain things were built and just created that definitely had some basis of vibration and frequency incorporated into it. And there was definitely a point where I think there was free energy. I don't think people in like this elevated collective consciousness lived in a way where we were struggling to feed ourselves, struggling to heal ourselves, struggling to, you know, to just survive. I think all basic needs were met. And I think if we can get back to that and we can heal our society, you know, so much change and so much good can be reborn into what all this pain we're seeing. But it's definitely a process, and it definitely starts on an individual basis, and it grows from there. You know, it grows to friends and family and your town, and you know, it's one of those things that I think small steps that we build upon, and collectively everyone just unifies, and you get this snowball effect, and hopefully that can collectively raise our vibration. You know, it can uplift us into a higher vibration, and you know, we can start to see more love, more joy, more collective unifying of the emotional state of our society. You know, so I mean, there's a lot, and that in and of itself episode. But we're definitely getting back to, I think, something that was part of our ancient culture and ancient history. And I think on a deep soul level, we know that. And that's why we long for that connection and that awakening. And when we see that happening in other people, like I know for me, when I'm doing some type of gallery or I'm doing some type of workshop, and you can see when someone, the light switch goes off and they start seeing, hey, I really am a spiritual being having a human existence. There's so much more. And you just see that that expanded awareness open and shift and change everything about a person. And I think it happens one by one. And then what slowly happens is segments of our population start to shift and start to change. And then hopefully from that, we can positively magnify that energy and it expands. And, it's something that I think a lot of us are working on, but there's still so much to do. But I feel really good about what I see as far as people opening and becoming aware to this and wanting to elevate the collective consciousness of our society.
I realize, it's almost like a simple way of referring to this is about how you see trends develop and something catches on. And hopefully this becomes, in a positive way, a new belief system. And there is a shift that is present. We're awakening, we're ascending to a higher consciousness, and hopefully collectively and universally we connect to it, and we become more in tune with ourselves first, of course, and heal ourselves and love ourselves, and then join with each other. I mean, that's what I hope and pray for, that everyone out there finds, I guess, their purpose and their hope and the light that's in their heart, and I guess hold hands. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's true. I mean, this is not, I believe that this is where we're going, and this is a possibility. And it's actually more than a possibility. It seems like at this point, people are beginning to question old ways and old systems.
Oh, yeah, the old belief systems are really being challenged. And I think you see some of the younger generations really challenging, like the system of, many, many years people thought, hey, okay, you go to school, you get a job, you get married, you have 2.5 kids, and you have your White House with your picket fence and your dog, and, you get a pension, and then you retire, and then you die, and then you hand that money down, and then, and it was all these, like, set processes and procedures of how it should be. And I think that's kind of been totally thrown on its head. And I think just the fact that you see someone taking that chance now, and they're like, you know what, forget this modern society and everything that society says I'm supposed to do. I'm packing all my stuff up. I'm getting into an RV and I'm going cross country, and I'm going to have the time of my life while I'm trying to figure out my life. You see that. And I think that's happened before, if you go back to the 60s and the day of the hippies and, Woodstock era and people traveling around and rebellion, you're kind of seeing a little bit of that vibe again. But I think this is something bigger. I think you're really starting to see the facets of traditional society being broken down, and people are starting to see that, look, we're being born and bred into like a slave society. We're being, these schools are just pumping out, a worker. They're pumping out, someone that could be an employee for the system. We're eliminating like independent thinkers, and I'm starting to see an uprise of this and people revolting against these standard kind of cut and dry, cookie cutter mold. This is what we're putting you in, and this is, how you're supposed to be. I think a lot of people are challenging that, which is really, really good. And I think we're seeing it being challenged more and more. I mean, granted, everything we've seen over the last several years, we also know, there's a lot of people that are brainwashed by the system. A lot of people are spoon-fed, what the news and what TV and what every ad wants to sell them, they're brainwashed. And it's a shame. But I think if there's more people like us out there talking about this stuff, bringing it to light, making people aware, that's how the shift is going to happen. That's how the collective consciousness is going to change. That's how it's going to raise. That's how people are going to shift their awareness. They're going to become more in tune. And, yeah, I think, we're seeing a lot of that with some of the younger generations that are really challenging some of what have been built in as, this is how you're supposed to act and be and what you're supposed to do in this society. You know, we're definitely seeing that being challenged, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's some experiences and encounters that I've had. I want to let you know that every single time, everyone who's listening, every single time you reach out of your comfort zone, you challenge yourself, you do something positive, you stop talking about other people, stop saying hateful things, and try to accept yourself and love yourself and take away your shame and any jealousy you have. And then you endure situations that might be difficult or are difficult that are challenging you. You will grow. And when you grow and you stand barefoot on the ground, I guarantee you life will improve. The more people that you listen to that have positive perspectives, like who we're going to bring on in just a minute, and we have to call him because he couldn't get through. And so that's just going to segue me into Peter Hansen. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've known Peter Hansen for a number of years. I really, it could be 6 or 7 years. I'm not even sure how we connected. He might have a better memory than that. And we've spoken many times on platforms where I interviewed him. And Peter Hansen is an angelic channeler and mentor. He has programs. He works individually. He'll explain much of that with you. So he is an intuitive angelic channeler, and he has a passion for living a spiritual connected life and embracing a clean, organic lifestyle. And he's going to tell us all about this after a near-death experience. And being in a coma for 10 days, he moved to the United States and developed his intuitive abilities. It's fascinating. He became a professional at this, a healer, an ascension coach, a channeler. And he has received the Angelic Channeler of the Year award twice. I didn't even know that was. And he has a very diverse clientele. In fact, Shayna Blackmore, who's coming on next week, is one of his previous clients. Now, you can reach him, and you can look him up on his website, and he's also on all the social media, and it's channeling. If you look at our profile right now on this show, channelingarchangel.com. Now, I know he speaks about Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, and we're going to find out if he'll take any call-ins, which might be fascinating. So let me call him right now while we're here and see if we can get him, because he tried multiple times and it didn't work. Are you surprised? I'm not.
Sometimes the electrical interference happens when you bring two psychics together. So
right. He knows that too. It's funny
he said that. Now.
Okay, so I'm trying right now. Hold on. I'm dialing the number. I'm putting it into the computer, and hopefully...
Just don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud. Peter, we're going to say...
I know. Remember I did that one time? Please. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. There he is. Okay, so I reached him.
Now, is he going to answer? Does he want to talk to us?
Listen, guest in screening room. Okay, so now I put him in the screening room. Oh, you know what? Can everyone hear that? Oh, no.
Hi. Well, now you can probably hear me twice, right?
Yeah, why is that?
Because you called me and now it worked on the platform, I guess. But do you want to hang up or? Yeah, why don't we hang up on the phone and then I'll try to connect to the other one.
Okay. So there we go. It's more
that
fun
almost sounded like you were in. That almost sounded like you were in outer space. That was a little freaky. I felt like I was in the outer limits. And that, I'm dating myself now. People, or the Twilight Zone. If anyone's out there that knows the show, The Outer Limits of the Twilight Zone, we are gonna gift you a free Two Psychics mug if you can tell us about either one of those shows.
You are so funny.
Send it to you.
I wonder why. I don't even know what happened there. Like, He called and he said he connected and he was in the green room, he said, but he didn't come up on my screen. Well, while we're waiting to find out, wait, let me see. Call again. What time is it? He's telling me to call again. So I'm going to call again. Here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
No worries. Let's try. Okay. Let's see if that works.
Just don't hang up on him.
I'm not hanging up on it. It's dialing. Let's see what happens. I don't know. This is fascinating stuff, right?
You're going to have someone else pick up the phone with a different voice.
I don't know. It says it's dialing. It didn't work. Oh, there he is. Okay, so let's bring him on.
Just went really far away
Hi,
there.
are you here? Are you here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, how are
yes,
you?
I can hear you both.
This is Michael and Mary.
That sounds excellent. What's up, Peter?
Awesome, because I picked up the phone call on my computer. Then it's going through the computer now, so it sounds better, I think. But, yeah, I'm not sure why I couldn't get into the room. I guess I didn't have the hall pass or...
I think it's technology. It's frequencies.
It probably is.
Watch it out. So we are all good. So what is up,
Michael? Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen each other on social media. We're friends on social media, but this is our first official time actually talking in person.
You're
but
popping.
It's great to hear your voice. Oh, I'm popping. Ooh, okay, hang on. Am I popping now?
Yeah, I'm hearing that too. It's popping like popcorn, but we can go the other way. We can go back to the phone.
No. How are you doing now? No, Mike, you sound fine now. No,
Mike,
sometimes...
I still hear the popping on my end.
Okay.
Well, why don't we hang up and you call my phone? I'm going to see how that goes.
Okay, but I don't know if that's going to affect him, but we'll try that. Sure.
Okay, let's try that. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Technology.
Three times. My voice popping.
Now it's popping. You're still popping. It has nothing to do with him.
My voice is popping? That's weird.
Okay, some of the time it is, and some of the time it isn't. Let's just take a minute here.
All right, we are going to do some technical adjusting, and I am going to.
Well, you know what, though? It's interesting because I wonder if when you bring on another person,
it changes like the parameters of the.
I don't know, but we're going to try calling him and see what happens because.
I'm going to turn the volume knob down. So, am I popping now? I'm adjusting my volume overall. Do I sound?
No, you're not popping now.
Okay, so maybe it ups up the level. Or like the gain on my microphone. So if I sound low, then just tell me and I'll raise my microphone volume. As everyone learns a little bit about radio microphone technology, so we are going to bring Peter back on so we can try to get good connection for everyone so they're not hearing our mics.
Hi there.
Hi. So I muted my computer now, so we're just on the phone.
Okay, great.
Hopefully that will work better. It was popping a lot.
It's a lot of different technology coming together, and then and I don't know why. Some of the time the link works. It is what it is. But let's move on. Let's get right to it because I want to hear. I haven't talked to you, Peter, in quite a while.
I know. I don't know how long it's been, but of course, like you guys said, we're following each other on social media, so we see each other daily. But still, I don't remember when the last time was, but I guess it's timeless, right? And we are continuously expanding, and then we once in a while gather together and share stories and have fun, And I know I can tell with you guys. You invited me early on in the show, but I was really busy doing other shows at the time, so I asked if we could do it a little later like we're doing it now. And I've seen you guys, how you're growing, and you guys are just really getting close-knitted and really getting it together. I feel, not saying you didn't have it together before, but you're very successfully kind of like getting into it, and loving it and growing with it, and providing this immense service, and having fun with it, which is the most important part,
And, this just reminds me that when I spoke to you last was actually, I believe, you gave me some kind of session, and you didn't, and it was just very, generous of you to give me a session. And I think you were you must have been sensed that I should unblock something, because we did that session and it seemed to have shifted me in a good way. And I'm trying to, and I think that I know actually that was after one of our last interviews, and you unblocked me. I think we did it either before or after the last interview, which had to have been over a year ago. So I want to tell you thank you so much, and you are really insightful and so connected to, I guess, understanding energy. And we speak about that a lot, don't we, Michael, about energy. And as psychics and intuitives, we have to learn what signs mean, when we receive them, whatever they are, if they're messages or images or voices or just knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Energy is really at the basis of everything.
There you are, popping.
Am I popping?
You're popping again, Michael.
That's so weird. Am I? Can you hear me now? Am I popping back here?
It's very strange. It's very strange. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's the other technology. I don't know. Like, it's come and gone in the past. But anyway, so Peter, would you like to share with us how you developed your intuitive abilities? Because in your bio, and I read it, and I know you've told me the story, but I'd love for you to tell our listeners, because it's an example of how, I guess, mysterious the universe is.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure in many ways it resembles other people, just with different nuances, because that's the whole thing. We are here having a human experience, and then ascending and awakening into our higher soul self, the heart consciousness, from the mind to the heart, and the unified field, the quantum field. So mine, started in increments, and I had the coma, and I had many experiences as a child as well, but I wasn't fully aware of what that meant, because I didn't have a community at the time, a spiritual community to tap into and to get answers from or knowledge from. So it was very much, and that was by divine design. I recognize that now. Everything is. So along the way, I just, of course, there was 4x4s, like my accident where I had my coma and went to the other side, and it was, went up the elevator, had the elevator experience, which is very common for NADs, near-death experiences, to go up and then come down again. And that's exactly what happened. I went up. It felt like an elevator. There was 2 guides with me, angels, and the doors opened, and there was immense light. It was like the upper floor, like heaven, resembling heaven. And it was not my time to go, so it closed up, and I went right straight back down, But it was really, I got new mission and new purpose and new directions, and a activation that was very powerful, because I remember as I was waking up out of the coma in the hospital, I really was in this very blissful energy. And it was like stepping back into a very, a dense, reality, third dimensional reality. And it was kind of like a shock on the system. At first, it didn't affect me, but after a couple of days, I think, weeks, acclimating to the new, or, coming back into that denser reality, I kind of readjusted into that, and believed that was who I was, So not that it took anything away from my previous experience, but then it was like I became human again. But something was activated within me that was never to be closed up again, and that was the main takeaway. and a couple of years after the accident, or maybe a little less than that, a year and a half, I think, I moved to the United States. I felt guided to move here, and also that was kind of like divinely guided. Following the inner guidance, not really knowing why I was going here, honestly, at the time. It was more like, oh, I'm traveling, and moved here for 6 months, and ended up staying and fully migrating here, immigrating, and kind of get the feel of what things were here on the West Coast, and of course, Archangel Gabriel is very East Coast as well, the energies, and the Moria, and just the lands, and the ancestrals, but also because of the United States is in my opinion, like the epicenter of the epicenter of what's going on right now.
Not to interrupt you, Peter, but I'm officially back. You were Mary, Amy's official co-host for a little bit, because on Two Psychics we have some crazy energy rift that happens when we get a powerful three-way energy conduit going. You're definitely making the energy conduit overwhelmingly powerful, I think. And we're disconnecting the lines. No, it's all good. I am back. I'm here. So sorry to cut you off, but I'm here and I'm listening.
Wonderful. Well, we missed you. Well, speeding things up, along the way, it's about listening. It's about continuously follow the signs. And, there's been many of them throughout my lifetime, the curiosity to the spiritual and reconnecting with the elements and drawn to nature. And also I did a lot of spiritual development classes, following many masters, and step by step got a greater sense of my abilities, fine-tune them, as I was mentioning in the description as well, to the point where I was able to share and also doing shows. I did shows for several years where I was traveling every weekend. I did Saturday, Sunday shows, and sometimes 3-day shows, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But pretty much that was my bread and butter, and it gave me exposure to a lot of clients, and also gave me a lot of experience under the belt that way, really working with a ton of people, and it really, really was wonderful. And that in itself was really just that community was really wonderful too. I learned a lot from that. And eventually I got my own office. I had several offices, moved, also divinely guided to now, this is available. This is now a better fit, kind of thing, and shifting, through COVID, all that stuff, to go fully online, which I'm still pretty much doing now. It's like, it's almost everything is remotely, through, video or phone sessions, and it's just working with people around the world, which is really, there's no limits to what you can connect with, and through the etheric and through the light body, and remotely, and finessing that, So I found myself a little niche that I can really work from anywhere, which is really, really wonderful. And there's just so much flexibility in that, and continuously working on myself too, living organically as much as possible, paying attention, observing what's going on, what's coming into my body, what I engage with, how I show up, what I multidimensionally connect with, and observing the patterns, observing the incoming frequencies and activations continuously, and trying to pick up what it's trying to show me, because there's always a silver lining, so it's really about, looking for opportunity, looking for something positive, looking for, anything positive, but also like trusting and having faith that it's benefiting you in one way, shape, or form, like really, really important, So, like you mentioned earlier, like we've known each other for several years, and seen each other grow and shared the stories, on different platforms. It's really wonderful, Amy, and that's like, it's a constant journey, we are traveling through dimensions, we're traveling through different phases and plateaus. Like you guys mentioned about the collective consciousness and the collective ascension being the topic of tonight, like we're seeing so many things happening now. There's one thing I noticed, And I kind of felt like other people are picking up. I mean, which is normal. We usually pick up a lot of the same in this, psychic or spiritual community. We're picking up a lot of the same downloads and energies that are coming into the field. But one is being that, of course, we're not in a rush, first of all, because it's non-linear, but also that within the last month, there was actually collective matrix container programming that was collapsing and released, but we are still keeping it alive individually. So we are now processing that to the best of our abilities, releasing the patterns, the routines, how we create, how we used to function in for thousands of years in the old, but now readjusting to the new. So what I'm picking up is that it is collapsed, and we are then individually on our own, which we have to go through that transition. We have to go through that development stage to make it conscious and make it consistent, to we fully understand the entire dynamic of it, if that makes sense. So it really is happening in divine timing, but also that, people are dealing with different aspects coming up, there was veiled before, because the old reality was the 3D and 4D, the reality was veiled, so we weren't able to see everything. So if we still believe it's that way, then we would still be experiencing that. But now the higher self and our guides are gently pushing us and assisting us in now seeing, which is interesting, because I did hear a little bit about you guys talking earlier about dream state and dreams, and I picked up something similar with a client earlier today, how we now, more and more people are now seeing multiple reality, because there's infinite possibilities, right? So when we are more connected, then we will also see other versions of ourselves in different timelines, and that can be a little confusing at first, because we might think, well, why would I, as we consciously processing it or logically processing it, as we get out of the dream state and think, why did I have that dream? But a lot of times we just got to peek into it just to guide us into this multidimensional view, because that veil is down. So now we're able to see all the other versions of us living in different realities and doing just fine doing that. It doesn't mean that we have to leave where we're at to go there. That's kind of like the main takeaway. So it's really about staying in our own lane and getting used to living in this new multidimensional, expanded heart consciousness, so that's really, really beautiful and powerful. Have you guys noticed any of that on your end?
You just solved the puzzle for me, because all of a sudden it all just came through, because I couldn't figure out something shifted. And I know that I have mystical experiences, whether I somehow sense that I have angel wings on my shoulders, and I'm moving up really fast, straight up, which happened to me a few years ago. But now what I couldn't figure out why I was having these very multidimensional, I guess not fantasies, but visualizations. Like, it's so strange, because I can do this very intense trance kind of focus. And if I hear some kind of suggestion or something, like something empowers me, I just can do, like, I can just visualize all of this very otherworldly stuff. And so what I just received was Trust the Divine. And it's about understanding ourselves, breaking down old versions of this civilization, and you can open yourself up more. That's what I received.
Yeah, and I think, Peter, you hit it right on the mark when you talk about seeing glimpses into other possibilities or other timelines, or, I do believe our higher self will show us, different aspects of our being, whether that's to inspire us, uplift us, try to help us navigate some type of, chaotic energy on this timeline, whatever it may be, even just showing us a glimpse of our true and potential that could be a possibility on this timeline. So that's, I love the way you presented that, and and the way you talk about that. So, yeah, I have to agree 100% with you. I do believe we get glimpses into, these higher possibilities of, manifesting our full potential. And a lot of times, like you said, that cognitive processing mind is shut down in that dreamlike state. So, that may be that instance, the higher self can download that information to us, or, a guide, an angel, a loved one can imprint that information on us. So, yeah, many, many possibilities. And I do believe it is a very inward personal journey. So, yeah, I mean, the way you talk about it being broken down and, we're like these individual pieces, maybe trying to build that puzzle, put it back together. I like that. That does make a lot of sense, and I think that'll resonate with a lot of people, a lot of our listeners. Now, Peter, one thing that always fascinates me, knowing like my own story of my mediumship unfolding, talking to other healers, other practitioners, I'm always fascinated with when the shift occurred. Now, I know you had a near-death experience and you were in coma for a period of time. Now, can you kind of take us back to that, or take us back even prior to that? Like, what was life like, that journey prior to having the near-death experience to that coming out of that coma and having this awakening? Like, what was the shift? What was it like? What was your life like before to what had unfolded after? Was it an easy thing? Was it very chaotic for you? Did you get into a flow quickly? So that's what I'm really curious about.
Well, that's a good question. I think a year or two before that happened, before the accident, I had a major heartbreak. At the time, the love of my life, the first big one. And I was recovered from that, and I was, I did have a new girlfriend at the time, and so that was kind of leading into big heart openings and feeling, things, and really kind of like feel what, unconditional love at the time was like, and also then losing that, you know what I mean?
Getting that overwhelm of emotion. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it was as a young adult, so going through that, growth spurt, and what is the priorities in life, I did apprenticeship as a pastry chef in Vega in Denmark, prior to the accident, going through that whole thing, after high school, and so it really was a big part of also just navigating, which we all do in that age, young adults, not really knowing what's next and where we're going to go and what like our interest, you know what I mean? So I felt like I was divinely put on a different path, because it at the time, I guess it was not going fast enough, or it was not going in the right direction. That's kind of what it felt like. So it was like adjustment, you can look at it from a different point of view too, that yes, it was an exit point, but I never looked at it as that, you know what I mean? In that sense, I could have left, but it was not written in the stars or in my script, that I was supposed to. And it was just, I just needed a kind of like a recharge, or a new, new guidance, new, mission, so to speak, you know what I mean? And so leading up to it, I don't think it's much different in the physical young adult kind of ways. Like we're going through these big shifts and changes, moving away from our parents and so forth, that age, you know what I mean? Being on our own, making our own decisions, I started early on, and Denmark is very liberal, so we do start a lot of things earlier, it feels like, because we have more leadway, there's more trust, you can do a lot of things earlier.
Now, what I'm curious about, in Denmark, was there a connection to like traditional religion? Like, were you open to spirituality and religion from a real young age, and kind of, that there's something else beyond this physical, or was that something that just really came to you after that near-death experience, or were you kind of tuned in a little bit by some type of traditional religion or family upbringing around that, or no, was it all new to you when the near-death experience happened?
Good question. I wasn't prior to, because in Denmark in general, it's very relaxed. It's a Lutheran, it's like people go, we do get baptized and confirmation and so forth, but church is not something people go to usually unless they are in in the later years, you know, and find solace with you know, the God's word that way, you know, the priest.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't only go for, you know, parties, funerals, weddings, you know, or, you know, not that a funeral is a party, but like that's the only time we go, you know. It's not because we go just to get rid of our sorrows or something, you know, like there's many other ways of doing that. So there's much more healthy relationship in that sense. So after the accident, you know, and then the years continuing from that, I did, after that connection, after the coma, you know, I did reconnect, because before I was very much, you know, I don't want to say I didn't believe, but it was like, it didn't make sense. It didn't, you know, something was missing. So afterward, it kind of came together, you know, it's like, there's a higher power. And it was kind of without that filtering, you know, that many are, if you grow up in a very heavy religious family and environment, you know, that you then kind of like force-fed into that, you know. So it was without that. So seems like a very pure, I could make whatever I wanted to make out of it, you know, kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that really assisted me in a very open, not, of course, there was no guidelines necessarily that you have to go this way. And I think that really, really helped me organically just navigate through that, you know, and follow that inner guidance, you know, that was encoded in my DNA. That's the way I see it now.
Yeah, you weren't stuck to like a set of rules. Yeah, you weren't stuck to a set of rules and guidelines imposed on you that you have to do it this way. So you're able to find your own path. Yeah, that's really interesting. I find that very fascinating. Now, question though, when you were actually in the coma, can you recall anything from that period of time, or was it like, you know, you had this near-death experience and you woke up and it shifted, or like, was there like an actual, did you experience like the presence of like a guardian angel, or feel like the angels at that point in time? Was there an actual physical sensation that occurred? Did you just kind of wake up and you're like, I'm still here and this has shifted, and wow, this is a, you know, kind of a new beginning for me? Like, what was that period of time like when you were actually going through that?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because it was the first time I was ever, you know, submitted to the hospital, you know, and I've been to the hospital since then, you know, appendix taken out, and that same feeling kind of resembled, you know, what happened back then. It's like I just felt so safe and so surrounded by, you know, angels and my family, that I just really, really treasured it, you know, like really it felt so organically, so trusting, so safe, you know what I mean? It's like, I know some people, they're very wary about being put under, or, you know what I mean, or being in a coma, of course, you know, depending on the consciousness that we embody at the time, but I felt really safe. That was my takeaway. And so I think that was the establishment of that, you know, doing my coma. And then I gently woke up, you know, and that's what I was describing earlier too. It's like it for several days I was in this really, really high vibrational state that I was acclimating into the human again, you know, because and that carried on, because then, like I mentioned with the appendix, you know, later on in life, you know, many years later, being in, it's like I fully trust. It's like I just know that everything that's happening from now on, you know, like it's for my highest good and benefiting me, and I'm in good hands, you know, and the best doctors, the best everybody, you know, like the angels are working through them. Never had any doubt. And that's been very comforting. Not that I've been to the hospital many times, but just those couple of times, you know, and really, really, if that makes sense, it's like when you go on the other side, when, like, if you are either in a coma or if you are under some kind of anesthesia, you know, like really just feel like I'm surrendering and I do what you have to do, kind of thing, you know. I know it's for my highest good. That's kind of like the feeling I'm holding, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, it's amazing that you felt that comfort in it. It kind of released that any kind of sense of fear, and it was, you know, just kind of letting go, you know. And you hear that a lot, you know. You hear that common phrase, you know, let go, let God. But it's almost like that's what I get. Almost like you kind of let go and you just surrendered, and you knew you were, you know, they were guiding and watching over you, and you know, that's a very beautiful story.
Thank you,
Peter.
But, you know, yes, go ahead.
No. Finish your thought.
I say, you know, I did wake up a little bit, and my brother came in, and I was in 2 hospitals, you know, of course that elevator experience too, that was I was recollecting it that towards the end of it, you know what I mean? But really it was in the quantum field, so I don't think there was any start point or end point, you know what I mean? It was like one experience, you know what I mean?
Okay, so this, I've heard this, so I have a question for you. So when you connect, and the fact that you went, you headed towards passing over completely. You said you went up, and it was like an elevator ride, or that's the way you described it, up. You opened up channels within you, and you refer to yourself as an angelic channeler. I sense that you're connecting, like you're literally seeing it, but also hearing it, like you're actually there when you are working with clients. I was just looking at your website in the last day or two, your mentorship programs. Are you receiving information directly, divinely, and the suggestions are channeled through you to give to your clients, like auditory and through clairvoyance?
Yes, it's like live channeling, so I'm getting, it's not like a audible voice. It's telepathic. So it's just like it's coming in, and it's like it's into my thought forms, So you ask a question, or if I tune into somebody and assist somebody, it's just coming in like a telefax, almost like tick, 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 and over time, I mean, it's not just when I work with clients, but it's just like, and it's something we all kind of will benefit from and start doing, is that we're becoming live channels all the time, like open enough to access that divine guidance. Not meaning we are in that, because I do prepare before a session to go into a high vibrational state and do many things, you know what I mean? But also my whole day, each day is a new start, you know what I mean? So I do meditation in the morning, I do affirmations, I do things throughout the day. I make sure I take care of my vibrational body by getting into nature, doing some yoga, finding a good balance with that, because it's benefiting my frequency and my vibration and my connection, right? So that's the live channel as well. So it becomes, one long live channel kind of thing, like where you're always connected, you always have access. And that's really wonderful, I believe, and feel a place to come from, you know what I mean? Because we do, not mean that we don't get challenged anymore, but we do get through it so much faster, or process it so much faster, because there's that divine input, you know what I mean? Of course, in the physical, sometimes we have to kind of be the decipher, we have to translate, like, well, why is this happening, So it's that divine guidance coming in is just so helpful, and it is, you can say, it's a higher self, it's God's source energy, it's from above, it's from higher dimensional versions of ourselves, the creator, the source energy, right? So having full access to that, as I'm sure you guys are doing too, like it's a constant, but it's also it's life changing, because then you're using that expanded heart mind consciousness, and shifting every now and moment, and to the best of our ability, being in completely harmony and in tune with whatever is coming at us, Does that make sense?
Well, what I realize is that someone like you've come so far because you've developed these abilities after many years. And like you just said, it comes and you process everything faster because you've not been through the same exact experience or encounter with someone, but you can identify all the signs quicker, and you can read things quicker. And I just want to commend you, because I'm literally, during this conversation, I'm receiving so much, and it's really, it's very positive. And it's, you're so developed at what you're doing, like you just said, how you hear and you receive information. And I'm so glad that you exist and you're out there helping and speaking about it and sharing, because I know your energy, your words, your vibration will change people. Like I mentioned Jilly Clark, who you worked with, and Jilly Clark changed me just from what her words, and same with Shayna Blackmar. And I know the individuals that you've worked with that I've spoken to and met are so disciplined in their gift. And I just want to commend you for the work that you've done in this field.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And it's really beautiful and to watch them out there, you know. And again, it's like when we're at service, you know, the way I'm approaching it, you know, it's like I'm not holding back. I'm just giving as much as people can handle, you know what I mean? And deliver it in a organic, but in a way that's not threatening or disruptive to anything, you know, just allowing people to connect from a heart-centered point of view, you know, like to the best of their abilities. And I know many times I plant seeds and I just allow it to develop, because I know that, you know, there's a process going on, you know what I mean? So that's really, really wonderful to then see how those seeds, you know, then they gain a positive foundation and they start blooming and growing, you know, and creating and reactivating DNA in the individual, you know, like it's really beautiful, and connecting with that divine blueprint that's already inside them that they didn't have access to before, and then to see how, in essence, you can say they're becoming another version of me, because in essence, you know, in the bigger, higher point of view, we are all one, right? So you are part of me, you know, Michael is a part of me, Shane is a part of me, Jill is a part of me. So when we start seeing the world and we're sharing our frequency through that bandwidth, you know what I mean, then that it assists with that transformation to happen, you know, where it's a very open container, it's a very open field, you know, where anything is possible, infinite possibilities, of course, and like we talked about earlier too, is that when we see and we have access and the veil is down and we can see all these different variations of outcomes, all versions of people or versions of ourselves, but most importantly, seeing the divine in everything, then it's not a fight against anything. It's more, it's a journey. It's a beautiful dance, you know. It's like, it's really being at service is being alive, you know what I mean? It's that when we challenge, that means that, you know, we're growing, we're expanding, there's new stuff coming in, you know, and there's a purpose we might not fully know or understand yet, but we will, and that, allowing that to fuel us and motivate us, you know, versus, you know, or compared to how the third dimensional human was finding motivation, you know, interestingly enough, using fear and anger to be the motivation just to feel safe, you know, having enough or not having enough or working hard because, you know, otherwise this can go wrong, this, that, you know. So operating from a new template, you know, a heart-centered life force energy just flowing through, the divine flowing through you, you know, like there's just, it makes shifts throughout all realms. So, like you mentioned too, like through the voice, you know, sometimes it's not so much the words, it's the frequencies coming through, just the intention, you know, and it's affecting all bodies, you know what I mean, not just the physical and the logical, you know, it's like it's going in and activating the light body and giving it something to work with, you know, and reconnecting parts, you know, closing what needs to be closed, opening up what needs to be opened up, you know, but giving people a sense of empowerment, giving people a sense of mastery as it's unfolding, because that's really the key here, is that becoming self-sufficient, right? And then make your own version of that, you know, and everybody's unique. We all hold sacred codes, so allowing that to shine through, like that master puzzle, you know, we all have our divine cocktail of frequencies, you know, and nobody else is the way that you are, I am, you know, and so really nurturing that, really allowing that, you know, to shine and be activated and embodied, you know, really, really key here.
So Peter, would you be okay if I brought someone on and you did a little guidance?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so everyone who's
Not to
been
put you on
holding,
the spot or
thank you
anything,
for
Peter.
holding. And nothing like putting on the spot. No, because I know that you're very poetic and gentle with your words and understanding, and they would gain so much. So, all right, everyone who's been holding, I'm going to grab the first one that I see who's been holding the longest, and I'm going to bring them on. So let's see. Hi, this is Mary, Michael, and Peter. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Patricia.
Hi,
Hello,
where are you
Patricia.
calling
How
from?
are
Hi,
you?
Patricia.
Hello.
So,
Thank
what
you for
question?
taking my call.
Yeah, and perfect opportunity. We have the wonderful Peter Hansen on. He's an Intuitive Angelic Channeler, mentor. He's covers many different aspects of these different connecting modalities. And what we want him to do for you is intuitively connect and see what information he can pull from a question you may have. Is there something in particular that you want Peter to kind of connect to and pull some information around?
Well, what kind of questions does he take? Because mine is more of a domestic issue.
What do you think,
Well,
Peter?
I take any one, but first of all, I want to ask for your permission to energy melt and connect with your higher self. Do I have your permission?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I'm just going to bring in the Legion of Angels. I'm asking them to remove any wandering spirits, anything that's not of the light from the energy field, and this call, connecting with your higher self and bringing in the archangels. So what is your question? You know, you can call it domestic, but everything is connected. I just wanted you to kind of like remember that, you know?
Yes. Well, thank you. My question is, I've been living in this neighborhood for a long time, and I have some issues with neighbors. I was just wondering if the angels could, guide me or let me know, am I going to stay within this neighborhood, or will the issues kind of fall away? I have done a lot of work here.
Well, let me tune in and then just see, tuning in remote view your neighborhood. So asking the question about, are you going to be staying there? Let's see what's coming up here. It feels like you are. But what's important here is that, you know, that insinuate that things are the same, right? You can still be in the same phase or the same location, but in a different vibrational bandwidth, in a different dimension. And that is what you will be experiencing moving forward, because, you know, all these gateways and portals and equinoxes and you know, is non-stopping, you know, like we have 2 eclipses coming up soon. We've got, you know, the 9-9 portal, the 10-10 portal, and there's solar flares coming in. And many more of us coming online and awakening, assisting with the collective ascension, you know, so just the frequencies are shifting. So what that being said is that, you know, the neighborhood will be shifting, your neighborhood, meaning through your universe, because universe, you know, like your frequency will start shifting. I can feel like it's already in the process of doing that, and I can feel that it's a little unease about that, because it's like there was a safety and things were the way they were, you know what I mean? So as things are shifting, then the memory of the things, of the way things were, it's going to come up. It's going to come up to be processed and to be released and forgiven, so to speak. And it's not about, you know, about the others as much. It's more about you shifting out of the humanness, which is more of a victim mentality. You know, when we're in the human dimensional frequency, we don't believe that we have any power, you know. So you are in the process of tapping into that more and more. I feel that. So that will increase and that will accelerate. And then things that upset or triggered you before will not trigger and upset you as much as they did. And there will be a acclimation happening, a transformation happening, where you will see everything in a different way. I do feel like not a 4x4, but there will be somewhat of a jump happening soon. I say jump, but it's more like it's a shift in consciousness, and this is all set by what's going on in the cosmos right now, where we are coming into we are in the golden age, you know. So the energies are just penetrating and activating the DNA in everything and everyone, including you. So there will be a jump in consciousness that's going to feel like it's almost like you don't recognize yourself. and this will be in the next 2 or 3 months.
Cool.
And that's going to be a very collective as well experience. It's just we reach a threshold where things can't hold any longer. They all can't hold any longer. So there will be a shift. And so you will, one advice here is that don't stress about it, don't rush about it. Just kind of like make yourself, prepare yourself, to the best of your ability on a daily basis. Do not focus so much on the outside. Focus on what's going on inside of you, within your body and your energy field, and take responsibility for that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, because I was going to be in the process of calling code enforcement I take really good care of my land, and just these people have let their yards go. The weeds are unbearable. They blow into my yard. I have to pick it up. I'm just on a whole different level than that. And I respect the land and everything. And I was in the process of calling, the city about that because they can be in trouble. It's a violation. So what you're telling me is to...
Go ahead, sorry.
So you're telling me to just relax and,
allow the universe to work on your behalf, because there's a version of you that's in a different timeline where this is not a problem any longer. So like if you could imagine what is the opposite of the experience you're having now, that's that everything is in order and there's no interaction or trouble going on with the neighbors and so forth, you know what I mean, so that you're not being triggered any longer. So that's a different frequency. If you pursue the other one of going to the city and going down that rabbit hole, then you are attracting more of that. And really what it does is the human aspects of us, we can't mess it up, but we can slow things down. So all that would do would slow things down. So that surrender part, that, not stressing out, not trying to control the things, the pattern, allowing the universe to set the pace, in other words, you know what I mean? Because that also just shows you that you believe, it shows that you trust. And if we don't trust in the universe, then it's like it's just going to continuously give you 4x4s, but it's not really the universe giving it to you, it's you giving it to you. So you see what I'm saying?
Yes. Okay. Well, I just hope that the universe sees all the work that I've done here all these years. It's just been unbearable. I know, say it that way,
but you're not who you used to be, so you did exactly what you were supposed to be doing, but now it feels like that job is over and you're now getting a new mission, a new purpose, a new assignment.
Okay.
So now you're shifting into another version where you now have to learn to master that consciousness, you know what I mean? And being more in the physical, then everything was more, in separation, and it was more of a struggle. In this new frequency, it's more about unification, and it's going to come to you in ways, and also the results and the small miracles will gently enter your field when you start allowing and not having that steady grip on the way things have to unfold, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I will just thank the universe for helping me, and I'll just see what happens. Thank you for your advice.
Well, thank you for calling,
you're
Patricia.
Welcome.
Thank
I kind of want to
you.
jump in one more thing, Patricia, is that, do the whole Ponopono, like saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, to everybody else, but also saying it to yourself.
Okay.
That, you don't know why you created this, but you did create it, because then you can then create something different.
Okay.
So you're not a victim any longer, you see?
Wonderful. I will do that. I love the Ho'oponopono. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck with it.
Bye. Okay, I love what you said. You there, Peter? I love that, because I actually took some pointers from that conversation. Can we do another caller? Would you be okay with another caller?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's see. Hi, this is Mary, Michael, and Peter. Who's this?
Mary, Michael, and Peter. This is Donna. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Hey, Donna.
Hello.
Where are you calling in from, Donna?
California. Yeah, our weather's finally
nice.
cooled down.
Getting someone from the West Coast. All right, cool. So yes, we have.
It's
yes,
5:55
Peter is
right
here
now,
with
by
us.
the way.
It's been hot, but it's finally cooled down.
Now what time? So now, out there on the West Coast, what part of California are you in?
Santa Barbara.
Oh, nice. Okay, very nice. Now, what question did you have for Peter?
Well, I'm having a problem with my housing. I'm on Section 8. I think I made too much money, but I did report it, but then they went way back, and, I must have had money, and I didn't, I don't know, nothing intentionally. But they're taking, they said they're going to do an internal investigation, and it's so far going into 2 months. So I don't know what to expect. I don't know. I mean, I can, if I don't get my housing, I can move in with my sister. She's an hour and a half north.
Okay, so, I mean, before you give us too much information, just so we can kind of read the energy of it. So basically, you want to ask Peter in regard to possibilities, future change in housing, lifestyle, as far as what path you're going to be moving
or if they're
towards.
going to do more. I don't know what they're going to do.
Okay, and this is basically around your living conditions and your housing and that whole scenario. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay,
Thank
all right.
you.
So we're gonna hand this off to Peter. He's going to do his whole opening procession with you and
awesome,
give you the whole rundown.
Thank you, Donna. So do we have your permission to energy melt and connect with your higher self?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I always ask for that, and that's something I also share with everybody because there's a respect in the spiritual world. We don't connect with somebody without their permission. So just kind of on a side note, that. And I'm going to bring in the Legion of Angels. I'm asking them to remove any wandering spirits, anything that's not of the light from the energy field and from this call. And tuning in, and I kind of understand that you really want to know about what's going to happen since it's been 2 months now, right?
Mm-hmm. The waiting is unbelievable, not knowing. Yeah. Yeah,
no, I can imagine, it can go either way, right? In the logical mind, it's there's really only two possibilities in the logical linear, way of looking at things. So I just tune into that and see what they're showing me here. So there's kind of a buffer zone I feel like you are in, and that feels uncomfortable because the unknowing is kind of tearing you apart. You kind of already said that, but the humanness, wants to know so it can then make the right decision moving forward. You know what I mean? But really the key here is not to move forward. It's more about becoming more and more present in the now. So that is the key here. It's as we're coming into the quantum field in the nonlinear, then we're not so stressed about, the dates or what's going to happen next or in the future, so to speak. It's more like focusing on what's going on right now. So this 2 months, it could be 2 years, it could be, but really it's not going to hurt you. That's the main takeaway. There's moving pieces on their end, I feel. So there's a restructuring happening, and there is, I feel, that, and this is what I'm hearing too, there's some divine intervention going on there that's trying to assist you because you shouldn't be punished because you made more money. And I do feel there's a new, because of, we are in the golden age, we are in the new quantum financial system. It's already operating in the background, because most people are not aware of that. We're so conditioned to and see through the news and stuff the old system. So a part of this restructuring of the system will benefit you, but your patience is being tested because you haven't gotten an answer yet, and it doesn't feel like you will get it at least for another month. And it does feel like there will be something going on that they're not going to dismiss it, but almost something like that. It's like there's going to be a change of the guard, and they're kind of going to write it off, it feels like. If that makes sense. Where before it was much more like, it's either a shitstorm or I got away with it kind of feeling, They're collapsing that, so there's major changes happening on the back end, and it's not just in your, case with this system, but really what it comes back down to is that the old matrix system, is collapsing. So it's not being supported any longer. So the frequencies, it's kind of like phasing out, of where they were separating and putting people in fear before. So anything that does that is being dismantled. Does it make sense? And of course, the logical mind will think, well, that is too good to be true. He is living on a cloud. But really, like, that's what I'm seeing, and that is the future probability, and that's what I'm seeing is going to happen for you. So the best advice for you is just, again, be patient. And I think that's kind of like a general advice here is that, don't rush. Kind of like you have everything you need right now, so try not to stress about it and then lose the present moment awareness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I go into a fear mode, and like, are they going to make me give up my apartment? And they base it on how much money you make, and that's how much I pay them. They pay the majority of the apartment, but I've been with them a long, long time, and I have some illnesses too that I tend with. So, but I'll just think positive. I think you're right, though. I think I do have divineness looking over me. Yeah, because I get these spirit messages, and I see visions once in a while, and so there's something there.
It feels like the right person is going to be on your case or is on your case, which is much more, open to the new, of course, introducing that new system, you know what I mean? And when I say system, it's really more like a new template, new vibration, new frequency, you know what I mean? New earth vibrations, you know what I mean? So it seems like it's going to work itself out.
Oh, good. Oh, that's nice to hear. Good. I'm not going to fret over it because it doesn't
like you
do
said,
any good.
Try not to allow the fear to rule your world, because then it could pull other fear timelines in. That this one, we looked into this one, and this is what I saw, but it's important to kind of like monitor yourself and observe yourself as it's unfolding, you know what I mean? It's like you have a conscious choice to make if you feel the vibrations of fear versus, getting a break, or being good enough, or all that stuff, you know what I mean? You are exactly where you're supposed to be if you look at it that way,
Yeah, that makes sense. I want to ask if I can stay or not stay. I live by myself. I have no kids. I have no husband. I have no boyfriend. My sister and her husband live on like this ranch an hour and a half north, and they said they would buy me a $150,000 double wide 2-bedroom trailer. I could live in there. Do you think that would be a better idea than me living by myself? That I would have them near me?
I do feel that, yeah. And it's not just them, but it's also like it's a different vibration where you would be going. So you have a different connection, but also it would assist you and then just not being stuck, because you do feel a little stuck when you're there, right? Because you're kind of like a prisoner to the system, the old system a little bit, Yeah,
I don't meet anybody. I mean, I go out there, I'm attractive, I'm intelligent, but for some reason, Santa Barbara is a very difficult place to meet men when I'm 70. Very hard. Even for my sister, she's 55. She can't meet anybody. So it's a tough place to meet someone.
Well, but also like meeting another version of yourself. And that's what I feel like that move would benefit you with, like you would then see things differently, where before you were kind of in a rut, like this is what I got to deal with kind of thing, And there that would open up and kind of lift, of course we're always tapping into that it's not going to hunt you down, but after that's clear, then you would still be in some sort of program for a little while, and you would move away from that if you chose the other option, you know what I mean? And I'm getting a strong yes for that. So it feels like it's trying to gently navigate you in that direction, also by showing you what's out there, you know what I mean? And it's been communicated to you what's available. So it's more like you jumping on that wagon, you know what I mean? Yeah. If that makes sense.
Good. I've been in the same apartment for 20 years. That's a long time.
It is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It served who you were, but now it's time to move on, I feel,
Yeah. So right. Yeah. I think that'll be good. It'll open up new things, and definitely.
Change is only scary for the human part of us, you know what I mean? So this is going to assist you with tapping into the higher self part of you more, and then seeing things that you didn't notice before, and appreciate things, you know, that you
Thank
that
you
wasn't
so much,
accessible to you before,
Donna,
you know?
for calling in. Thank you so much, and we're wishing you well. And I believe that, you know, Peter's sharing with you some divine guidance. So I hope things go well for you, and you know, continue to listen and have a wonderful evening.
I love your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We'll have a great night.
Thank you so much for calling in, Donna.
And you can find him on his website, and if you want to further connect to him, you can see his work, and there's videos on there, and he's done many, there's a lot of videos and shows that he's done if you want to connect to his website, which is www.channelingarchangel.com. And Peter is also on all the social media, Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, terrific. I'll do that right now. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Donna.
Peter, you are just giving such lovely guidance, and in such a positive way. And I'm learning so much tonight. Would you like to share with everyone, because I know you've been on for over an hour now because we had such technical difficulties. Would you like to share your information, you know, your website and what you would, you know, offer, because you have mentorships, and I wouldn't even try to describe everything. If you want to, you know, tell our listeners what exactly you offer, what services.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched upon it already, but it's like you go to my website and there's a lot of information about what the mentorship entails. Most of my clients have individual sessions with me first, kind of like get a feel of how this to work with me. And I felt that was been a really good introduction, you know, a really good way to, you know, grow from, you know, and see if there's a match, you know, if there's a desire, you know, for expansion, you know, but basically, if anyone listening here now feel curious or feel there's an inner nudge, you know, to check that out, try to honor that. Try to, you know, try not to worry about all the things that could go wrong and why you're not ready and why you don't deserve this or so forth, you know. Try to just follow that inner guidance, you know, and then go, like you mentioned, there's a ton of videos of other interviews and panels, all kinds of things I've done, you know, on my website that you can click on and listen to for free. There's hours and hours and hours of stuff. If that's the direction you want to go, you know, or just reach out and through the website, you know, go to the Contact Me page and set up a session. And yeah, that's it. It really, mentorship, what that means is that I meet people exactly where they are at, you know, and then assist with opening up and activate the modalities, you know, and gently hold the frequency while that's happening and giving that higher self-insight, because I'm connecting with the individual's higher self, so I can see a lot of times what they can't see yet. So then gently making that connection and guiding them in the right direction, but for the most part allowing them through that journey to make their own decisions, because that's important, you know. But then, of course, giving that light-encoded advice along the way, I found to be very beneficial, and seeing expansions and shifts happening, you know, so fast. And many wanted to continue to work with me, and there's many I worked with for years. The journey doesn't end just because you do a opening, you know, or you start your spiritual journey, you know, and it doesn't mean that you can't do it on your own. Absolutely, many are doing that, but there's many that really, not desire that so much, but really enjoy having that connection, having that guide by their side for each phase, because it's just streamlining everything and accelerating everything, you know, the awakening process and the ascension process, and also understanding what's going on along the way, and not feeling silly, not being alone, having somebody guiding you out of those rabbit holes, you know, as they're coming up, because there will be ups and downs, because there's all this programming that we've been exposed to that get in the way along the way, and it's coming up to the surface to be cleared. So we just simply have to acknowledge it and observe it and release it, you know. So that's kind of like what the mentorship is all about, so check out my website, listen to Facebook, or go on Facebook or Instagram as well. Check that out, and I hope to connect with you. That's all from here.
Thank you so much. And you really are. You use the word gentle, and I have to say I agree with that. The way you project your ideas and your guidance and your way, to me, even just tonight, this little interview that you, thank you so much for joining us, is kind of a soft release into awakening people and changing their perspectives and ideas in a much more unified, graceful, gentle way. And I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. Really appreciate your insight you shared with us, with all our listeners. And we hope, so now you're in California, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. So when you're ready to come out to the East Coast for a little trip, just know we'll be putting some live events together. We'd love to have you out here for one of them.
Oh, what kind are you doing? Like conferences or that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think we're trying. I think we got a couple things in the works. So you'll have to let us know if you have any travel plans in 25. And if you're gonna be out this way, we might have to sync something up. And get you on stage with us.
Oh, that sounds fun. Well, send me something about it. I'll check it out, and see how it fits in.
Yes. We're all about fun here.
No, thank you so much
delight,
for joining us.
Thank
What's
you.
that?
I said it's all about delight,
Absolutely,
it is all about
yes.
the light.
And
all about the light.
All about
That's
the light,
it.
all about connecting, finding these connections, and opening our mind, body, and spirit to it, And I think we're all on this journey together. And like you said, we're eternal students. We're constantly learning. We're constantly growing, and that's part of this process. That's the beautiful thing about this process. It's an everlasting unfolding of our divine self, And we thank you so much for sharing your insight and guidance with our listeners. And we'd love to have you back. And yeah, like I said, if you're on the East Coast, we're definitely going to be grabbing you for some kind of live event.
That sounds fun. Let's put that out there and see what happens, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. We just put it out there.
Manifesting, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us, Peter. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you for having me. You're welcome.
Okay, everyone. You can find him at channelingarchangel.com and also on Instagram and Facebook. Have a great evening, Peter.
You too. Love you both. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
I was about to say good night, but I'm like, wow, he's earlier in the day than we are, so that wouldn't really be good night.
Okay, well, that was, you know what? That changed me because he says he guides you, and I know some of that, but it's the way he presents it. It wakes you up again.
And that's one of the things. That's one of the really interesting things about doing this work. And just to give you an example, so say we have a group of 100 people at a mediumship gallery. There may only be 10 to 20 people in that gallery that actually connect to spirit and get a message. But I can tell you, in that message, usually spirit will provide some type of insight and guidance that can unfold for everyone. It can resonate with everyone. Everyone can pull some information and insight from that. And I think that's why certain people are drawn into certain events or certain workshops, work with certain practitioners. But yeah, just like you said, the message wasn't directly to you, but you pulled some insight and guidance from it and from his angelic channeling. And that's what people need to understand is even if you're not getting like a direct message, like for the listeners that are here, they're calling in, they, try to connect with us. And for whatever reason, we didn't connect. We didn't get to you tonight on the phone, but you still hear the message that's coming through for someone else. I can tell you there's absolutely something there and something that will help guide you or give you insight into your own, whatever you're navigating, whatever chaotic energy you could be trying to persevere through. When they're giving insight and guidance, I do believe the information comes through and we can all utilize that information. So that's something, like really listen in and see what the angelic energy is bringing through to us. See what the guides are bringing through, because a lot of times, some of that information many of us can take, and many of us can utilize it, learn from it, and help navigate some kind of situation in a more positive way. And that's really what it's about. It's about trying to use this insight and this guidance to maneuver our life in the most possible, positive, uplifting way it can unfold. So that was very interesting. So you got some insight and guidance in your own life.
I did,
and stuff that was going on with you.
So we are going to take one more caller. What was interesting is, and we have some that hung on, a couple of people popped off because I think they didn't know that we were going to continue. I just found it interesting that both callers, and they were random, were about living circumstances. One was about moving, and one was right? Wasn't one about her neighbors, and then the other one, is she going to live in that same place? Which is two in the same, kind of. It's interesting.
Yeah. A lot of that's fine too. Is sometimes you'll have many people drawn together to a certain, certain situation, a certain program, a certain workshop, a certain event, because there's some kind of connecting line between it. There's some kind of energy cycle that we're all being pulled into. There's something that's connecting us. Somehow we can all pull some kind of positive information from this. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're definitely seeing that unfold.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes left, or 11 minutes left. Let me grab this last person. I don't think that they were a previous caller, because sometimes people call back in, but I'm just let's see who this is.
All right, cool.
Hi, this is Mary and Michael. Who's this?
This is Michelle from Florida. I'm so thankful you took my call.
Hi, Michelle.
What is up, Michelle? What is going on?
I split things off with my ex because of his problems. And so this new guy shows up at the marina, and he's working on the marina and trying to start a business doing kayaks. And I'm like, he has flirted with me, and then he was really smart aleck. He was going to cut down my flowers. So I went to the marina owner, and, I don't think he realized to the extent of it. So I went to him again, and then he's like, well, we might have to get rid of him. And I'm like, God, I hope so. Because he's crazy. He's doing some wild stuff. I got him on videotape. Well, I've been talking to his ex-girlfriend that broke it off with him, and, she was the one that told me that he was stealing stuff, and she found stuff in her backyard that was somebody else's. So she sends me a message this morning and says that for all the years that I've been with him, I just can't see him being a bad person. And I was like, okay, you're the one that told me he called and wanted his guns. You're the one that called and told me that he had a screwdriver and he scared the shit out of you when you opened up the door when he disappeared for an hour. And she says, well, I'm not going to feed into all these suspicions. I'm like, that's what she told me.
All right. So Michelle, let's just, before we go any farther with this.
So it's kind of scary, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's do this. I just want you to say your name slowly. We're going to connect to your energy field. Just by you saying your name slowly, you're just allowing us to connect into your energy field, and we'll see what comes around. We'll see what comes out. What energy cycle you're going into, what we're seeing around you. But yeah, just give us your name slowly. We'll connect to your energy, and then we'll see what kind of insight and guidance may come through.
Okay, it's Michelle, and I'm calling from Florida.
Okay, that's fine. So this is basically around relationships moving forward, gentleman that, is obviously giving you some type of anxious energy, untrusting, low vibration. You're not sure what's going on with this new connection, this man that's around the marina, what's unfolding around this. So I'm just going to connect on an energy level, and let me see what comes through, because that's going to be the ideal thing. We'll see what's happening. And so first off, I want to see in this energy cycle, I'm sorry, what's that?
I was just going to say, he was so sarcastic to me. It's like I would have nothing to do with that man ever.
No, so So let me just, so energy cycle that you're moving into, there's definitely unresolved energy, I do believe, going through January. The interesting thing is I'm seeing 18. So when I connect to your energy, I'm seeing 1-8 very significantly around you. So I have to ask, the 18th, or one, so is there significance to the number 18 and address a date of a birth, a death, an anniversary? The 18, the 1-8, is that significant in any way to you that you could just take right off the bat?
Well, the 18's not familiar, but my dad died on 10/8.
10/8. The 1/8. Okay, so we have the 8th in there. Okay, so I have to ask also, when I'm getting when I may be seeing it a little, I do believe I'm seeing the 1/8. So even though we have dads passing and the 8 being significant, so I have to ask, the 1 is the first. So we have the 8th as a significant date. I'm wondering if they're giving me 2 significant dates around you. Is the first, is the 1, is that also a significant date? Is that also a birth or a passing?
My grandbaby was born April the 1st.
Okay, so we have the 1st and the 8th. There's some significance.
And of course, the 8th, my dad passed on the 8th of October.
So we have the 8th. Yeah, there's significance. I'm trying to see what they're showing me, and I'm just trying to connect on an energy level and see what feels right. So there's definitely something around. So I do believe I'm being pulled to January 8th for some reason as an energy cycle, the 1/8. I do believe your collective is giving me this information. Now, the interesting thing, so I have to ask about Dad. When I just try to connect to your energy, on Dad's side, or this could be your father, grandfather, is there heavy military connection around them? Who was in, I don't know if this is Vietnam, Korea, like I'm not being pulled to like World War I. This could be World War II also, or someone could have been in 2 different wars. But what's the military connection around Dad?
I think my grandfather might have been in the World War. I'm not really sure. I know there were some military pictures. Now, my son is a veteran from the Navy, and then my brother is a veteran from the Navy.
Okay, so there's a lot of military symbolism. No, there's a lot of military symbolism from your loved ones in spirit, definitely on Dad's energy around that. So I had to bring that up. I do believe grandfather's energy is coming through very strong around you. I feel like that's actually what I'm connecting to more than Dad's energy. And I do sense there's like a military connection to him. And I do believe there's some kind, like he's showing me, I don't know if he got a Medal of Honor or a Purple Heart, or there was some, like injured. Was he wounded? Do you know, like, are you familiar with his history? I feel like he shows me he was wounded in battle and has some kind of medal or some kind of honorable certificate or something around that either you would have access to or you've seen it or a family member has it. I almost feel like he's bringing it up because there may be some way that you either have this in storage or you would have access to it through like another family member.
I don't, but my son's dad's all military. And everyone in his family, his aunt, his grandmother and grandfather, his dad, very heavily military.
Well, so I have to honor the military connection, and they're talking about that too. So, and unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time to allow this whole thing to unfold. So I'm gonna still just try to pull a lot of information because I know you're moving forward in this new energy cycle, and you want to try to have guidance of moving forward in the best possible way around what I'm going to say is some unknown variables of this guy. So what's interesting, I'm just going to try to pull from that male collective that I feel like I'm starting to connect to and they're starting to open to me. I do believe, like, you really need to document a lot, and I almost, like, I'm concerned that you may be dealing with someone with like an addiction problem, so there may be drugs involved or alcohol or something, that there's some kind of substance that could be bringing someone out of their rational mind. And I don't know if, like, both of these people that you're talking to, this gentleman and the woman that knows him, but it's weird. It's almost like I feel like there's some – it's like a substance abuse or something, or this could even be like if someone has like a bipolar disorder and they're not taking their medication when they should be, they're off of their meds, and they start having some kind of processing issue with their mental faculties. I'm sensing something like that. Like there's some kind of something, there's some ulterior underlying energy cycle going around these people that's causing this problem. I don't necessarily think that, like, you're a target or someone's looking to rob you or set you up or, you know, like nefarious means going on around you. I think you're dealing with people that may have some serious mental instability and they're not correcting it by taking medication or something like that that's influencing it, which could be substance abuse addiction. So now, Mary Amy, I took a bunch of time, and I'm going to hand this off to you and see what you're getting around this. But I feel like there's some ulterior energy showing me substance and addiction or, you know, something like that around these people.
Hi, Michelle. It's so great to talk to you. So we have 4 minutes. Hi. All right, so this is what awesome. I received from you. Usually I see images or I get messages, and I saw a zebra running and running alone, you know, an animal zebra, a zebra animal. And that represents, or that is meaning that you need harmony in your life and you have some conflicting emotions. You are seeking balance. I received that there's some trouble and you might be giving yourself away too much to a fault and don't trust. I saw a teacher in a classroom, which is related to you seeking guidance and wisdom, more intellectual. There will be a solution to a problem that you're looking for, which I think that you're receiving some information tonight. I also saw a baby swimming in a pool, which represents the brink of a transformation, a new chapter in your life, and I heard that you should forgive yourself for something. And that's what I received tonight.
Huh.
Interesting.
Awesome.
So, Michelle, I'm just going to jump in with a couple little pieces of information here that, you know, because now I'm connecting to your energy on a little deeper level. It's just going to be really quick. So I do believe the 18 that I'm seeing is giving me I do feel like that's the date around January 8th. So I do feel like you're going into a cycle that's going to be through the end of this year. You do have to just be aware, be very aware, be observant of what's going on around you. And I have to mention the name, the J or the Jimmy or a James around you. I don't know if this is in spirit or your spirit's talking about someone as a connection to you here in the physical, but the name Jimmy.
Wow, my
James,
uncle's name is Jimmy, and they called him James too.
Okay, so he's around you, and he's in spirit, correct?
Yes, he just died like a year ago.
Okay, so I have to honor Jimmy. So Jimmy's around you. So that's why they're giving me. So that's why Jimmy's jumping in and he's talking. You know, he's giving me the Jimmy and James, hearing his name both ways. So I really appreciate that validation and that connection. So just know, I mean, this is a little bit of a chaotic energy cycle you're going to have to navigate, and it's going to be a period of time. So just, you know, keep yourself safe. Be aware of these people. Be aware of, you know, you being by yourself. Make sure I would just make sure your place is secure. Make sure you can protect yourself, have mace or have some kind of spray. And I would just be aware of chaotic energy that could stem from substance abuse, addiction, mental illness, that type of thing, because that's what I'm concerned. That's what my concerns are that are around you. So I would just be aware of that. So, Michelle, unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time to get into this, but so just know Jimmy came through pretty strong.
Thank you, Michelle, for calling in.
Thank you so much. And you got to keep us posted on how this unfolds. But thank you so much.
And I hope you follow us and continue. So, Michelle, next week we have Shayna Blackmore, who's a sound healer and Reiki master, and we will be taking more call-ins September 19th. September 26th, we are not going to be here. And then October 3rd, Estrella Feminine Priestess. You can find michaeledley.com and Mary Amy Official, and everyone have a great evening. Thank you for calling. Bye.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Michael. You still there?
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it. I'm still here.
Okay.
I
will everybody join us next week? And this was episode 30 with Peter Hansen, Angelic Channeler. Bye-bye.
Good night. Thanks again, everyone.